what bad things was Biden doing? I don't think he goes into this. So what bad things was Biden doing that you say, I'll begrudgingly go to Trump? Like that you are supposedly objectively critical of Trump and you've decided Biden. What could that be? I can't think of a single fucking thing. All right. Where were we in this Tim Pool bullshit?
Oh, it's a good question. Hit that.
What I think YouTube is doing. I don't like Democrats. I think they're nuts. I think Trump's not that bad. I don't think he's perfect. Or anything like that.
Can we talk about Denims? Give me your rattle off points.
2 seconds in.
Give me your points. Why, when someone says Trump is not that bad, what do you respond with?
Sure, if you're like a straight cis white man that's also rich, right? Sure, he's not bad.
No, yeah. But you're trying to convince them that he is bad.
I mean, like, yeah, you can just, well, first of all, I always point to like shit like that's like very easy that it's hard for somebody to disprove, right? So the most mainstream thing that we can look at right now is the Supreme Court nomination, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can look at all the Democrats who said, well, I don't really like people who are socially liberal or whatever the fuck. And they're like, well, I don't like the Dems because blah, 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 put in innocuous reason that doesn't make sense here. And you're like, okay, well, you recognize that like because people voted Trump in 2016, we now have ACB in the court, right? And she's pro-life. You recognize this, right? That you caused this harm. I thought you and you're someone who, if you're a woman who actually is in favor of like pro-choice, okay, well you just shot yourself in the foot. Why?
Mm-hmm. Why
did you do that? Like what? Oh, because Ed Paul or some dumb shit. So I think that one is like very, very strong. And then I think you can probably look at like rolling back regulations. Like I think he rolled back some like water regulations, some EPA stuff, which impacts everybody. I think you can also look at the fact that like his claim on like job creation is actually bullshit. You can look at the death toll of like COVID numbers in America that actually impact everybody. You can look at like how he has created a system of distrust of literally everything to the point where like we can't even trust anyone in government to do anything, and that's not a good thing.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like because like the thing is, as much as I would like to be like, hey, well, what about like regulation that he's pushed back or pulled back for trans people? Most people aren't trans. Most people aren't in the queer community. Most people don't care. So they're gonna be like, well, I don't care. I'm not trans or whatever. But why does that impact me? But then when you point to things that probably are impacting them, like, hey, like, have you considered the fact that like he isn't really helping you, and the only tax cuts that he's actually made that have actually been kind of useful have been tax cuts for the super wealthy? Like those are the main ones that he's actually written that actually matter. And the only tax cuts that we've actually seen is like this 2017 one, which you have to fit in a very specific criteria for. And even if you do fit in the specific criteria, it doesn't actually impact your AGI at all. It only is like a small deduction. It's a really small deduction. It's like 25,000 deduction, maybe depending on how much you've made or how much losses you're claiming. And then that gets reduced for every dollar above $100,000. Like this is not actually impacting anybody. The only person that this is impacting is him because he's claiming fuck tons of losses. So like he rolled back over 100 EPA regulations. Like, okay, so what did you get out of it? You got less clean water, you got more polluted air, and and then he got some tax cuts. And is that what you wanted? Are you happy with and you didn't get the jobs that he said he was going to bring? Okay, so what do you have to show for it? Besides like all this shit that he's just destroyed and left destroyed.
Yeah, and someone in my chat just brought up, WDK brought a good point. Like if we're talking to like conservatives or center right people or centrist people, one of the things that was always touted was we had to help the Kurds in Iraq, like because the Kurds were a very oppressed people in the Iraqi government when Saddam Hussein was in power. And so that was like often touted as a good reason for us to be there, even if there were no weapons of mass destruction. And everyone completely forgot about the Kurds when they were abandoned and we allowed the Turks to go in and do the shit they did.
I mean, yeah, I guess fuck the Kurds, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like the troops, they'll wave the bloody flag when it benefits them, but otherwise, when it's time to do legislation, they're just, oh, I'm sorry, what?
Yep.
Who?
Yep.
Speaking of,
yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm correct. It was Turkey, not Turkmenistan, right?
I don't think it was Turkmenistan.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was Turkey because I remember Hassan getting like tweeted at for that. Like he had been the general on the battlefield running them over with tanks.
Literally based and true, by the way.
All right.
Yeah, and then I actually someone brought this up and I totally forgot about this. Who did we fucking assassinate that people were afraid there was gonna be a fucking World
Soleimani.
War III?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. Soleimani from Iran.
Like, dude, this is reckless fucking behavior. This is reckless.
Yeah.
That could have potentially led to like the death of like millions of American lives.
Yep. I mean, and that's the huge thing is like, as much as I'm in support of certain extrajudicial military action against people that are actively hurting us, like that man was guilty of
Sure.
Of influence like that into the battlefield where our troops were dying. So hands down, the guy was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But this is the lack of tact. Like when people want to hand wave, oh well, yeah, I wish he would tweet less and blah blah blah, and he does say stupid shit, and they use that like see, I'm critical of Trump, but not anywhere important. Like that same irrational Twitter behavior was the same fucking behavior that led to him assassinating someone in Iraq with Soleimani.
Also, his if we are talking about tweets, his tweets towards like North Korea, I believe.
Yeah, like just the Rocket Man was pretty funny.
Just absolute disregard for like fucking American can handle it, baby. Best goddamn military in the world.
You know, I was thinking about it this morning, because of all the stuff going on, like Destiny is like doing some canvassing and stuff in Atlanta to try to help those two senators get elected. So I've been thinking a lot about that, and if those senators don't get elected, we'll be in a stalemate as far as legislation goes. But even if that happens, we still have at the very least 2 good years or 2 years, maybe 4, of Biden being able to do executive actions, but also, more importantly, behaving as a president and fixing our relationship with our foreign allies. I think that is something that's going to be like establishing some sense of normalcy where you don't have to worry that the next tweet might start World War III. I don't know, that sounds really hyperbolic, but Trump damaged our reputation for the world. There's a reason the world was celebrating much more about Biden's victory than they celebrated about Obama's victory.
Yeah. I mean, Obama was just,
That was just a step like, congratulations, America, you're a little less racist. But this is, congratulations, America, you got your head on a little straighter and, got rid of that asshole.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there are any foreign powers that are very happy with Trump, let's say, other than Russia.
Yeah, you got to look at which foreign powers are congratulating the actions of America, and when it's Venezuela, Russia, and North Korea, maybe we want to reconsider where we're heading.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's screw the beanie back on.
Yeah, but I thought the Middle Eastern look at this. The Middle Eastern peace deals were amazing. The job growth, the economic growth, I thought those were great. Energy independence was a good thing. Operation Warp Speed, I thought it was great. Trump was doing some fairly good things. I thought Biden was doing bad things, and Biden has a bad history. So I said, all right, begrudgingly, I'll vote for Trump.
What bad things was Biden doing? I don't think he goes into this. So what bad things was Biden doing that you say, I'll begrudgingly go to Trump? Like that you are supposedly objectively critical of Trump and you've decided Biden. What could that be? I can't think of a single fucking thing.
I would be hard pressed to find this. I mean, like, here's the thing, right? All of the things that we would find to be bad things on behalf of Biden are not things that like people on the right. So like, for example, him like still being like pro fracking and like pro coal for some reason. Like those are things that I wouldn't want out of my candidate, but like it's not better with Trump. And like if anything, Trump voters look at that and they're like, okay, yeah. So like all of my qualms with Biden is that the opinions are too right leaning. So like what I don't know what you expect, right?
I don't know. Also, I want to make sure that I'm correct. maybe I was thinking of Brazil. Is Bolsonaro the homophobic president?
Sorry, what was that?
Earlier I said Venezuela, Russia, and North Korea. I might have meant Brazil. I want to make sure that I'm clear in my messaging and not.
Yeah, it's the president of Brazil.
Okay. Okay, then it was Bolsonaro. I don't know much about Maduro, so I don't know if he's as bad as Hugo Chavez was.
I'm going to be honest, my foreign power knowledge is it's lacking. It's definitely lacking. So,
like most Americans.
True. I mean, we have a fuck ton of problems here that, like, if you are, I think I've seen, like, who was it? Who made this? Someone made a take about AOC. Oh, I remember who. So I'm mutuals with Kermentine on Twitter, right? And he made this, like, it's really funny. Half of his takes are, like, just interesting. They're just interesting. I don't, like, I just, like, look at them and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. You know what I mean? But, like, he made this take about AOC and he was like, for starters, AOC should know more about foreign politics. I'm like, okay, this is a weird, like, all of his takes are so interesting. Like, this is such a strange opinion to have about AOC. Like, she doesn't know enough about foreign policies. And I'm like, what?
I mean, that sounds like a valid criticism of a politician of her stature, right?
Well, the thing is, she's like, I think if you're at the point where, like, where America is, where you're probably spending, and also she's just a New York rep, right?
Yeah.
She's like,
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about how much power New York representatives have over foreign powers, but she is, like, currently busy working on how New York is treated. Like, we are, like, the tax funding in New York is actually fucking horrible. I think every dollar that we pour in for tax dollars in New York, we get 96 cents back or something, or no, less than 86 cents back in, like, infrastructure and, like, programs. Like, where's the rest of the money going? Where is this other 14% of funding that's coming out of our pockets? Where is it going? We just want to know. You know what I mean? So she has, like, her own fucking set of things that she's working on that she's, you know, currently busy with. So even if someone wasn't entirely invested in foreign policies, I'd be very happy to have representatives and senators that are doing a really good job in their local regions or in the Senate or in Congress. Like, that's, like, I don't want everyone to be like that, but if they're just really, really good at domestic policy, I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say congressional members of the House can absolutely have huge amounts of influence. Are you familiar with Charlie Wilson?
No, I'm not.
Have you ever heard of Charlie Wilson's War?
No, actually.
Oh man, it's a good movie with Tom Hanks.
Okay.
Now, of course, he was a conservative Texas guy, but he was instrumental in America's involvement with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan back in the 80s against the Soviet Union. Now, of course, we can have our discussions about what that policy led to in the long run, what was good, what was bad about it. But the point is that a congressman can absolutely have an incredible amount of influence.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Now, again, Mike points out a good thing, like that started a snowball that eventually led to Al Qaeda and all that shit. And yeah.
Hi, Mike. AOC followed me after I dunked on him for attacking her. Oh no!
I never thought I'd be jealous of Mike. God damn it.
Yeah, it was a very interesting. It was I remember reading the Kermentine take on AOC, and I was like, this is such a strange reason to, like, dislike AOC. She's not as invested in foreign politics as you'd like her to be.
I want to know what the take was that he thought highlighted her lack of knowledge, because I'm assuming she said something and that this wasn't just some blanket statement, right?
Well, I think he saw a tweet standing her and he replied to the tweet and said, yeah, why doesn't she, like, get, like, better foreign policy or some shit like that? So it was very, very interesting take.
All right, real quick, before we go back to Tim, I saw a 4chan post, like someone screenshotted and tweeted. I would like to read that if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's a picture of AOC at a South by Southwest, just standing there in an orange sweater. Nothing special, just AOC,
okay,
right?
Cool.
It says, she's so fucking annoying. The way she talks like a little girl who knows she can say whatever bullshit she wants because daddy's not far away and will punch you in the balls if you ever tell her to shut the fuck up. God, I hate her so much. But I also want her to catch me masturbating in her office and humiliate me in front of all her congressional staff. I need her to be ashamed of me and keep me around as an emotional punching bag. Call me a traitor. Call me a leftist. I don't fucking care. I will go full democratic socialist just to get a closer look at her skin pores. I will sell my ass to Antifa for a ride on her Milky Way. Fuck nationalism for a look in her eyes. Fuck the free market for a glimpse of the movement of her hair. Fuck Trump. Fuck the wall. Fuck the white race for a drop of her sweat on the tip of my tongue. Yes, I said it.
Oh my god, that dude is way too horny. He needs to be bumped. Holy fuck, that dude was way too horny. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah. At the same time,
Mm-hmm.
I see where he's coming from.
Yeah. See, this is why we need. This is why we need more women in power, because if we can just get enough dudes horny about them, they'll vote for them. You know? That's it. This is a true plan.
That's the true control people should, fuck the stupid period nuke memes with the president, right? We need to talk about how women in office will put men in their place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Yeah.
so it's like Twitch, right? I'm about to get real, you know what I mean?
I mean, as long as you don't say TOS, I don't care.
Oh no, I was gonna say Squad W, but I didn't want to be a misuser because I like train.
Oh, you can say Squad W. That's fine. That's fine. I say Grug sometimes.
Yeah, we're about to get real Grug W. So, it's like Twitch, right? You get all these donations and stuff because you're a very pretty woman. Well, imagine once you get into office and then you're a very pretty person, and now you get votes because men are coming out to simp for you. So you're getting the simp demographic. I think that's going to be
That
the
is
election
true.
game changer as the squad grows in power.
You know, this would explain the amount of canvassers for AOC. This would explain that, actually. There's a lot of them. And you know what else? That's probably why she gets so many donations for her campaign.
It is. It's the simp money. It's like maybe
Yeah, it's
if
the
I give her
simp
$10, she'll date me. Maybe.
Maybe we can hold hands. Maybe me and AOC can hold hands. if
I'm
I
doing
just
the little
simp hard
big-eyed
enough.
pointy thing. Where
Yeah,
does that come
same.
from?
I don't know. I have no idea what the origin is, but it's good, and I'm keeping it.
I watched you ever watch the Venture Brothers?
Venture Brothers.
Oh, it's a good show. It's a cartoon that kind of spoofs Hanna-Barbera cartoons from back in the day, but it has like a lot of great cultural references and excellent writing. I highly recommend it. It might take a little bit of time to get past the first 3 episodes, but once the ball gets rolling, it's hard to stop.
I'm actually very patient with cartoons. I'm very patient.
Good. It's also like there's some highbrow, lowbrow humor, all that. But the reason I bring it up is the first season's from like 2003, 2004, and in it, like this grown man does the little pointy finger touch thing, like in a
Oh
moment
wow!
of
Wait, this
cuteness.
is like recent. When was this? Oh, it was on Adult Swim. Oh, I don't even
Yeah.
know how I've never heard of this before.
Amazing show. I think it had 7 seasons, but like they never rushed it. They never forced it like they do with a lot of, Adult Swim's really good about that, right? So they'll have shows that have been on for years, but you only get a new season every couple years. Venture Brothers is one of those.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I'm gonna watch it. I always want to watch more adult cartoons because I feel like there aren't enough adult cartoons. So
Yeah. Unfortunately, it just got canceled, which really saddens me. So
feels omega bad.
enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that's okay. You enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah. All right. Let's Beanie back.
Yeah.
I think what YouTube wants to do when they ban certain high-profile creators, and YouTube isn't the worst, mind you. It's Facebook and it's Twitter. But when they ban a lot of people, they're hoping those people will stick around and watch, Steven Crowder and, other right-wing creators who they're allowing to remain on the platform. They want to spin the wheel, push. They want what's considered right-wing to be far-right, what's considered centrist to be right-wing, and they want someone like me who's a left-leaning independent to be considered right-wing, which is now what they're basically doing. They like it. Shifting the Overton window. That's what that.
Is that what?
Oh my God.
I don't think that's what the shifting of the Overton window is really about, is it?
First of all, I don't think that's what. Or at the very least, I'm pretty sure he's using it not correctly.
Right.
The idea sounds about the same, but I don't think he's using it correctly. Also, he's not left leaning, dude. Like, dude, if you compare the United States to literally any other first world country, like this, we're not like no. Temple, you would not be considered fucking left leaning by any metric. Oh my God, if you're voting Trump, you are not left leaning. This is just not the way that it is.
Right. And like, not saying that social media platforms couldn't through censorship have an impact on the Overton window, which is the range of policies that are, politically acceptable, like in the mainstream, right? Like, for instance, we said that, as like a more socialized healthcare and those kind of things, like that's the Overton window shifting as more and more people become okay with that.
Yeah.
So they could, but the implication that they are in any way doing that is like conspiracy.
Yeah. This is pretty that like they're trying to shift the Overton window in a non-organic way, specifically by censoring all the right wingers. Like that's not how that works. That's not
Right.
how you shift that. It's
Exactly.
It's a social change over time.
Yep.
That's how the game is being played. And we knew it from the get-go. It wasn't just social media. The Democrats changed the rules. We know this. Mail-in voting was a huge boost. They then had a month to maybe ballot harvest. We saw several accusations of ballot harvesting. But maybe even just general outreach. That's the thing y'all got to understand. With 1 month, with mail-in voting going out.
I hate the like Democrats change the rules, and I hate being a broken record about this, but isn't it weird that Democrats want to get more people to vote and more votes to count, and that Republicans are always finding ways to not count votes? Why doesn't that resonate with people?
Wait, sorry. Can you say that again? Sorry.
Yeah, like why? So it's always interesting to me that Democrats are always fighting to get more people to be able to vote and for votes to be counted, and the right are always trying to find ways for them to not. But then when you talk to these supposedly objective arbiters of fact, they don't seem to process that. So he says change the rules. All they did was adjust to the pandemic and make sure that more people could get their vote counted.
Yes. I mean, like, there's a fucking audio recording of Trump saying like, oh, if we actually let everybody vote, like the Republicans would never win or some shit like that. Like, this is not like this. It's an insane concept to make this assumption that like they would that like Democrats, the people that are pushing for people to vote, are also the people that need to like ballot harvest to get votes. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Right. And if what's kind of scary is if Trump had embraced mail-in voting, I think that we would have lost the election. I think Trump would be president again if he had embraced it.
That wouldn't be an insane concept. That would be fairly reasonable, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they go door to door and just say, did you fill out your vote yet? Fill it out. We're here. Fill it out. Now mail it in. And they don't go to harvest. They can just say, do it, vote. And they gave themselves that month to do it. And that was a way, one of the principal ways they won. The other thing they did was they suppressed information, they censored, and Twitter did this. People like Jack Dorsey, man. I think Jack Dorsey, I don't think he has any power, mind you, the CEO of Twitter. I think for the most part, he's just like a figurehead, just a face. In reality, the company knew what they were doing, and they knew why they were doing it. It was a long time ago that, Paul Just Watson, Alex Jones, Laura Loomer, Milo Yiannopoulos, many people were banned across the board on social media. And it was obvious what they were doing. High-profile Trump-supporting personalities.
Okay. I'm sorry. Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos. These aren't the people you want to put on a pedestal as your examples of Twitter going overboard with this shit.
Were purged. So, look, when they say that Trump lost, and in some states it was relatively close. People are saying it wasn't even close. 306. Nah, look. The 2016 race was very close. Trump won some states by thousands of votes, tens of thousands. And in this case, it was relatively close. I'm not going to say it was extremely close, but it was relatively close. We've had races where it's like, Obama gets several million more votes and several states cleanly go to him, and we know it's not close. No.
I think in elections for the last 30 years, I saw a graph that said this election was like fourth or fifth in the top closest since like the 90s. Like this isn't that close at all.
No. I mean, like, the thing is, he won like Pennsylvania by like how many?
137,000, I think.
130, and then he won, I think, Georgia by like 5,000 or 6,000 or something like that. Same thing with like Michigan, Wisconsin. Like, he won all of these by like a good margin, like a margin that like even with recounts probably isn't going to correct the adjustment such that Trump wins. Like, this is just a strange take to have.
It is. And if I'm looking at the numbers, okay, it was a little closer with the final count. It was like 80,000 votes, but still, that's huge.
that is still way too big to actually call for a recount.
Yep, too big to call for a recount and too big to say close. Like, I think he
No.
widened the margin compared to what Trump had in 2016 over Hillary.
I mean, he literally lost the popular vote.
Yeah, which is why we had the I not to go down that rabbit hole, but it's funny when the Republicans come around this time around and say that we have to hear about more conspiracy theory. We had to suffer your conspiracy theories. It's like, dog, the whole reason that the Republicans did an investigation into the last 30, 40 years of elections is because Trump said the only way he lost the popular vote was because of 3 million illegal immigrants voting. They have very short memories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is really. Oh, dude. Fucking, I don't. Like, I understand why people watch Simpool. I get it. Like, it makes you feel comfortable. It's like, I get to be a right winger. It's fine. But like, holy fuck, dude. Jesus.
I used to listen to him on Joe Rogan, and up until this year, I was like, oh yeah, I he seems like a pretty cool guy. Oh, and then last year he had this chance. He got on with Jack Dorsey and then the trust and safety person for Twitter, and he got to actually have a conversation with them. And he flubbed it. He just focused on the dumbest things. Like, I'm like, yeah, I think there are some ideas that Twitter censors that I think is like, even though I completely vehemently disagree with them, I don't want that to be shoved off the platform because then it goes underground, it festers, it becomes worse, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when the facade started to break for me. And then I started paying more attention to what Tim was actually saying and realized he's not as objective as I thought he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not. He just likes to, he puts it in the veneer that he is, but he's not actually,
Yep. Also,
Yeah.
what's the toast it with a sword?
Oh, those are like my mods.
Oh,
Those are my toasty mods.
toasty mods.
Yeah.
Sick.
In this case, Trump looked like he won on election night, and then they went, "Oh, red mirage. Oh, we're gonna find the votes." Yeah, everybody knew
Find
that.
the votes. Fuck you, Tim.
So anyway, they say a survey of voters in the key battleground states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin found enough Biden voters switching to give Trump the win in each state. This did not assume that those voters leaving Biden would shift to Trump, showing how close the races were. Basically saying they're not saying it would have necessarily have given Trump the boost, but taking enough votes away from Biden meant Trump would have won. And I think this shows, well, we got a serious problem. In my main segment, I talked about the decoupling of America. Actually, it was the CEO of Axios who said there would be a decoupling. And I think I think he's right. I think there will be a decoupling. Why? Well, conservatives know the media is lying to them and lying to many people. The battle now is on for heads, counting heads. Republican networks need to convince people to join their ranks. They need people to leave mainstream media and get them to join the ranks of conservative media. But it's not, I shouldn't say necessarily needs to absolutely. It will help them. I'll put it that way. There are left-wing social media platforms. There's like Mastodon, not particularly large for the most part. Parler is growing exponentially, and conservatives are finding their own voices in their own spaces. Here's what's going to happen. Many conservatives are still on Twitter. They just have a presence on Parler where they can say more of what they want. Now, Parler does have different rules, in many ways stricter rules. They have a broadcast standard, meaning you still can't put up hate speech, but you...
Do you know anything about Parler other than it's a breeding ground for extreme right-wing thought?
That is all I know about Parler, actually. That is the entirety of my information on it.
Okay, so that's all I know, and so it makes me very curious then, like, to what degree are they enforcing any sort of like anti-hate speech if Republicans are finding it to be a far more open place? Like, what ideas were you saying on Twitter that you couldn't say? What, women are men? Or I'm sorry, not women are men. What is that fucking slogan? Trans women are men. That's what it is. It's TWAM. Like, are they allowed to say that and not get banned? Like, well, then it just seems that they might have a different definition of hate speech, not that they have some, more strict hate speech law than Twitter or rules, That's the kind of thing you have to look into when he says something like that. Like, Parler does anti-hate speech. Not really.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry. I think that like hate speech on the internet is like such a strange conversation piece, and it's so fucking like I don't even know how to describe it. Like the nuance on it, I guess. Like, yeah, sure. Here's the problem, right? If you don't censor any speech on the internet, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have like literal incel breeding grounds, which is why that subreddit was removed. Which, by the way, there's another one that's like not as bad, but it's pretty fucking bad, called like Our Virgins. If anyone wants to like, if anyone wants to like hurt themselves, maybe we'll look at it on stream later. I don't know. It's really cringe shit though. It's like people posting about like, you know, I guess I'm just gonna always be a virgin in my life. And like when someone makes a tweet there, and or like not a tweet, they make like a thread, and they're like, hey, like, you know, if anyone has any questions, like I actually got laid and I never thought I would. And then like everyone is just sending them hate, like literal fucking hate breeding grounds. No one's actually trying to get better. So like, yeah, maybe we remove these communities where people are like, I'm sorry, I abused my chat. I had them look at I forced everyone to watch me go through our semen retention. So it's
Get your oversexed self out of the subreddit. You are no
Sorry.
longer welcome.
but that's basically what it is. It's just like, no, you're not allowed to stop. How dare you be in here? And like people say like, oh, like, you know, I hired a prostitute, right? Because like I'm tired of like having this aspect of my brain be so fucked. And then you'll get people who reply and they're like, yeah, but you didn't really have sex because you paid for it. And it's like, oh my God. Oh
both mean against someone for taking control of their life and anti-sex worker.
It's
what
insane.
an unwelcoming place.
It's insane, dude. Anywho, yeah. So like, what? Anyway, back to it. You have to like, yeah, maybe you don't want to have like, a breeding ground for people that like hate a specific group of people, and maybe censoring it and censoring those communities is good because it's actually very bad for people's mental health.
Yeah, like and here's the problem. Like I don't think that all hate speech. I think that a good point Tim could have made when talking to Jack Dorsey is, you know, the definition of hate speech. Like, because there are people who have disagreements when it comes to like things within the trans community, and some things are just flagrant, fucking mean-spirited, anti-reality shit, right? Like, it's like, I wonder why people don't draw more parallels between the plight of the gay community itself over the last 30 years until we had this like bout of 7 years of extreme progress for the gay community. Why people can't look at the trans community and say, okay, same things are happening to them. Why can you be okay with the gay community now, but now you're being real fucking weird to the trans community?
Yeah. I think it's because there's like, I think there's like a time. I don't know what there's probably someone who's defined these things, but like there is a bit of time between when something becomes like aware to the public and then when something becomes normalized to the public, right? So like it has been a very long time since when we first released the patch notes for gay people. I don't know how you would describe it.
Since homosexuality was in American Alpha, yeah.
Yeah. So when it finally was released, not just in the beta, like it got released, you know, there was a bit of time before people like actually accepted it. And then I think at some point, actually, I did a little bit of research on this. It was super highly accepted, right? And then the AIDS pandemic hit, and then it just sunk again. Like people did not think highly of it anymore. And I mean, obviously, it's like I saw this fucking lecture fan tweet when Trump got COVID, and lecture fan tweeted the dumbest thing in the world. God bless his soul. Okay, he said some shit like, oh, by the way, you know, it's really fucked that everyone is wishing against a Trump, like this illness. You know, I'd like to see one time that the Republicans have ever done this. It's only the filthy liberals. And I like retweeted, and I was like, you know, it's really weird. Like, I can't think of a single community. The gay community that was ever marginalized for sickness and made fun of for it. AIDS pandemic. You know, it's just so weird. It's so weird. It's actually insane that this is never, you're completely right. The Republicans have never, ever done this. Ever. Oh, wait. Yes, they have. You fucking dumbass. Yes, they fucking have.
I had that argument with my mom the other day, who was a proud Reagan Republican. And I was like, you know, I've been like reading Reagan Land and learning more about like that era in politics and how it bred the conservative party we have now. And I brought up the AIDS pandemic, and she right away went to she pivoted to, well, Reagan had a gay friend or a friend who died of AIDS. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. That's the black friend meme, which I don't think my mom,
Oh, no.
I don't know if I've fully explained why the black friend thing doesn't work to my mom. We're working on that one. But but yeah, she brought up the gay, like he had a friend who died of AIDS. I'm like, that doesn't mean he didn't do harm. That doesn't mean he didn't say things that were bad that negatively impacted the gay community.
Yeah. You can be like, gay people, and then also implement policies that hurt gay people. Like Also, have you heard of Pinkwug?
Is that someone in your chat?
Yeah, sorry, I'm actually not sure about the gender. So I'm just gonna go for they, because I actually have never asked. But they make these comics, and this one is very, very based. It's on my stream, but I sent it to you as well.
I'm looking at it on your stream.
Exactly what you were talking about.
Always has been memes
is really good.
One of my favorites. Absolutely. I think it does a great job of highlighting the logic behind a viewpoint, and then like the realization one might come to. And that's a really cute one too. That's a really
very, very good. Yeah,
I gotta follow him or them.
If you want to link your gender, or link your gender, say mandated gender. But they make really fucking poggers.
Hopefully they don't mind my liberal attention.
Liberal attention. Yeah, it's him. Okay, cool, great, wonderful. Yeah, he makes really cool fucking comics. So
sweet. I like the angry look on the bird's face, because it always has been.
Yeah. His friend died. That's the whitest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, my gay friend died. My gay friend. See, I'm for gay people because my friend died and he was gay. Like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah. And I don't even know if the guy was gay. I think he just had AIDS. He might have been just like some Hollywood dude.
Yeah. This is the other thing, which is like, you are not like immune to AIDS if you're straight. Like, this is not something that like magically only affects the gays. Like, I don't. It's so fucking delinky. I'll post it again.
That's beautiful. All right, I think we've got a minute left in this. Let's see if he doesn't say anything too crazy.
I'm ready to pause.
You can say anything you want about, a lot of things. Twitter will ban you for, questioning the election or stuff like that. Here's what
Twitter doesn't ban you. Twitter puts a thing on your post that says, "Hey, this is bullshit."
Is not verified. Yes.
Yeah. And we should want that. When you realize the negative implications of putting out misinformation on a platform that big, we should want that. But it's the misinformation that Tim wants to propagate, so he's angry about it.
Also, people are back on the AIDS topic really quickly. Someone said also people get it from blood transfusions, IV drugs. One of the most hilarious things, if people haven't already, like, I guess, done research on sperm banks, this is very, I don't know why you would actively go and do that, but one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest forces for creating sperm banks was that, like, previously, when women needed sperm, right, you would just go to the doctor and then they would just give it to you fresh out the fucking pipe, okay?
Wait.
And then
what?
Yes,
are you saying that the docs laid pipe down for the person?
No. Like, they would have somebody else come in and then provide it, like, in the room next door.
Oh, and then they'd speculum and all that other shit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then actually one of the biggest problems about this was this actually heightened a lot of women that got AIDS.
That's fucking
and HIV.
Horrible.
Because you couldn't test the I think the test took too long, or you had to wait 6 months for it to, like, I don't want to say like incubate, or I don't know what the word would be there, but you have to wait a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So they actually made banks, and it was one of the biggest factors in preventing women who wanted to get pregnant from also happening to get AIDS. It was actually, like, fucking insane. And, like, now, obviously, if you donate sperm, it sits in a bank for a while, and then they test it for all this stuff, and then it can be used.
Oh, shit. I didn't know the history of sperm banks. I just thought they're like, well, men like to jerk off and people need to come, so
yum.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. All right.
Oh, God.
regular people and journalists will probably be on Twitter, but most regular people don't use Twitter at all anyway. But conservatives,
We don't have to. I just what the fuck?
Yeah.
conservatives will use Parler and Twitter, so they'll create a space where they can say, "Come hang out with us, check it out." On Twitter, you get a left bubble, but it's still fairly. It's not hard left. It is in many ways, but not nearly as partisan as Parler is. Twitter won't become a left-wing version of Parler. Twitter is going to be mixed because conservatives are still there, giving conservatives the advantage in the future.
I just want to stop and say you create your bubble on Twitter. Like
Yes.
when I first came to Twitter, I followed a lot more conservatives than I did liberals. You create the bubble you have on Twitter. Everyone can stay in the bubble if they don't want to.
That's something these media companies are going to have to pay attention to. And maybe this will be the massive advantage conservatives have going into 2022 and 2024. I'll leave it there. A couple more segments coming up in a few minutes.
So that was it. That was Tim Pool's wonderful illumination on how it had people paid more attention to the news, Trump would have won.
Yup. Because clearly that's what would have fixed it. That's what that's.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a frustrating video because so much of it relies on the spin he creates about the media, and then just feeding into that narrative from there. They're all lying, and then here, let's look at this. I don't like that approach to it, obviously, because it's why we're trying to push back on it. But I don't know. How do you change someone's mind? I think that's before we depart. What do you try to do when you come across someone who believes this?
Who believes that like
the mainstream
censors
media
stuff or what?
is totally full of shit, that the big tech companies that control the media outlets are working against one side?
Well, I think that maybe this is dumb, but I think that the only way to do this would be in a Socratic way, where you would ask the person, like, okay, well, what sources do you trust? Do you have any sources that you trust? And then the person's either going to say yes or no. If they trust nothing, it's like, okay, well, how do you know that anything is right if you have no measure of figuring out what is true and what isn't true? Right? Do you just live in a constant state of like fear of everything? Is that what you do? So like, how do you know that like the food that you're eating is healthy to eat? How do you know that like, you know, the cigarettes that you're smoking aren't bad for you? Like, how do you know all this stuff? You just make assumptions based on what you think is right. Like that doesn't exactly, you recognize that you don't know stuff, right? You recognize that like we went to space and you probably don't understand anything of how that works, right?
Yep.
Like there is stuff that you don't understand, and you're just gonna, instead of like letting other people who actually understand it, who've studied this stuff, tell you, hey, we know this. We're not speaking for everything, but we know this. You're just gonna just assume you live in like nothingness. But like if you're not talking to those people and you're talking to people who believe in some stuff, eventually there'll be some overlap between something that they believe in and other things that they don't believe in that are coming from the same source. So I think this is most prominent in like the 1350, where people are like, well, the Black community is so violent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Well, yeah, where are you getting these stats from? Oh, you're getting them from the FBI's Bureau of like their crime stats?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
you know
you
that
do
they
no
also-
research beyond that.
Okay, so that's a source that you're saying is good, right? You like that source because it says this. Yes. Okay. So just to confirm, this is a source you're using. Okay. Did you also know that they also cite that like Black men are getting charged like way more time for the same crimes? Why is that happening? Did you also know that Black men get significantly worse plea deals? Oh, why is that happening? Oh, did you know that like they also are more likely to get charged? Not even past just like how long someone gets charged. They're more likely to get charged than white men are for the same crime.
Yep, my favorite's the
did you
marijuana
know-
statistic.
Yep. And it's like no, but that's not real. And it's like, but it's on the same website that you're citing this 1350. Like it's the same website. All you had to do was scroll down a little bit more. So why is this information good but this isn't, if it's from the same source? So you can't believe this and also not believe this. Like it doesn't make any sense. You have to, either you're going to stop citing the 1350 thing because you no longer trust this source, or you also have to accept that the situation is more nuanced than 1350. Right? So I think you really want to try and find a source that somebody believes in, and then find that source saying shit that they disagree with.
Yeah, and then when they bring that up, and then I think where you find a huge problem is that even if you get them to acknowledge that yes, the FBI website does say that, and they're not lying, then they'll fall back on this very ignorant idea of, well, they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps, they're responsible for their own whatever, and that's where you get into the kind of the social politics side where you have to explain intersectionality and systemic problems, and they have to be open to that to understand it. I was one of those people. It was very hard for me to process the idea. It wasn't because I lacked empathy. It's just because I knew that in moments of hardship for me, all I had to do was dig deep and push through. And it takes more world understanding to realize that's very difficult, especially in the Black community after what's been done to them.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And we've
Every time I've debated a conservative, they've gone utterly rolled because all leftists are constantly inundated with their arguments and never hear. Yes, this is actually base as fuck. But this is the most base thing, which is like when you talk to righties, they don't actually care about lefty like argument talking points, right? Or like very rarely will you find one that does care about them. So, but all lefties are like stupid fucking the lefty meme where all we do is read and write theory. So we've probably read all of their stupid fucking arguments and we know that they're not true.
Yep. Exactly. Well, shit. I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much. We took, I think we talked for like about an hour and 45 minutes, about an 11-minute video.
Classic React Andes.
All right. Well, I mean, when you say enough shit that can be picked apart, and yeah.
Yeah, when you're spouting garbage for 11 straight minutes, it's hard to not be a pausing piker, okay?
Yes. Wait, did you say pausing piker?
Yeah, that's a meme.
That is such a good meme because
really
he
good one.
does it and then he'll pause and then he'll make his joke and then he'll unpause and then whatever joke he made was countered by him and he won't acknowledge that part. That's always been my frustration. I watched him watch a Joe Rogan video once and he kept pausing it to take his jabs and then he'd unpause it, and multiple times Joe Rogan would say the counterpoint to what Hassan just made a joke about or clarified or expanded upon it more, and I'm like, you gonna address that? No? Fuck.
Uh-oh. Yeah. But yeah, I had fun. This is always fun. Also, I think sometimes it's like it's kind of like, I don't want to say tiring, but like sometimes when you're talking to almost like to yourself for like hours on end, it can be like, oh man, I wish I could like talk to somebody else for like 2 seconds. Fuck. Somebody else make content for me.
Fucking seriously, right? And thank you for taking the burden off of me just sitting there quietly saying, this is stupid. We've talked about this before, and then Googling something.
Yup. All right, well, I will give my chat the attention that they need from me before they cancel me.
All right, you have a great one. Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. My name is Lycan. Please subscribe to my channel, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I need your subs and I need your support so I can grow my shit bigger. Please, oh please, I don't need donations, just need your follows and adorations. Please, 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 like, subscribe, and follow.